And we are live. Hello, I'm Phil Croshaw, and today is day 26 of 31 days of live streaming. Still going strong. Well, still going anyway. That's the thing. And today I'm so delighted, and I'm not just putting it on, to be welcoming Taz Thornton to the show. Taz is from Unleash Your Awesome, and she's going to be unleashing some awesome on us today. See what I did there?
I'm going to be unleashing something, Phil. Something.
Yeah, probably a clip round the ear roll. Here we go.
I can't. It's all right. Yeah.
I want to be there and baby dance the night away. I let my hair down if I want. Don't you just get tired chasing fame and being pretty all the time? Doesn't sound like fun. You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like. You can do better. You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like. You can do better. I dare you to be wilder. Let me show you what a good time looks like. To be silly, baby, dance the night away. I'll kick my shoes off if I want. Let yourself be free and maybe you will find that there is more to life than being pretty. Honey, let's just face it. Baby, let your head down, be a little wilder. Baby, kick your shoes off, you don't have to hide it. Baby, let your head down, be a little wilder. Baby, kick your shoes off, don't hide it. I don't fit into your box, beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better, I dare you to be wilder. I don't fit into your box, beauty.
And here we are, and a very warm welcome to Taz Thornton. You didn't realise we had such a massive fan base, did you?
I didn't. It's like 89p to buy a massive sound base, isn't it? Something like that. Sound base, fan base.
Sound base, fan base, fan base, sound base.
Will do.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, something like usually from Madagascar, or is it the Philippines is usually the most popular place.
Yeah. Canned laughter. Canned cheers.
Canned laughter, yeah. Yeah, well, you have to have canned laughter now because there's no real laughter.
Oh, I laugh at you all the time, Phil.
Well, that's true. Actually, that is very true. Yeah. Lovely to have you on the show, mate, as always. And I thought today we'd have a chat about various different things that are in the news and various challenges that are being had by various different people. Just as a slight aside, when I was picking a track for the start of that intro, I didn't realise that one of the lines in that music, in that song is, "I'll show you how to have a good time." And I'm paranoid now that somebody's going to kick off and sue me, basically. Yeah, it's quite possible. Yeah. In this day and age, the PC age, mate, the PC age, which you and I have talked about many times.
Whoa.
Yeah. So if I can just say apologise, I didn't realise "I'll show you how to have a good time" was in that particular track. So anyway, that's life. Such is life. Right. So, Taz, for the one or two people who don't know who you are, with your amazing marketing activities of the last few years, tell us about who you are and what you do, my friend.
Who am I and what I do? I am known as the UK's #1 female motivational speaker. Not my quote. I nicked it from somebody else who said it about me, though, so that's okay. So I'm a speaker. I'm a speaker trainer. In 2018, I was named the UK's best female coach. In 2019, I was named one of the most inspirational businesswomen in the UK. 2020, I was given an award for my speaker training and then listed on the top 50 marketers to follow worldwide, which is funny because I never see myself as a marketer. This baby's just been listed in the top 50 personal development books by women worldwide. I do a little bit of stuff, help people to unleash their awesome, and I am the pink powerhouse. Apparently, so people say.
Yeah, well, I totally agree, and to be honest, I've got a blue Peter badge. That's my limit. And
see, I haven't got a blue Peter badge, so you beat me. Did you? It's because you're Mancunian.
I think I might have nicked that. I think, yeah, Mancunian, yeah.
Well, I'm looking at what. Go on.
No, go on. No,
I was just going to say, I'm looking at where it says Live Streamers Association. I'm guessing the blue Peter badge wasn't for apostrophes. So yeah.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. Yeah,
we've had this joke going for such a long time.
Yeah, I've had all sorts of comments, and in fact, I've had all sorts of situations with this live stream, which I knew it would be. It's great fun, but sure enough, yesterday the guy I was interviewing, his internet went off, so all of a sudden I'm talking to myself, which, as you know, is quite a regular thing over the years.
Yeah, even when I'm in the room. Yeah,
absolutely. So I had to just talk bollocks, excuse my French, for a few minutes. Then he came back on. So it was all cool. Yeah, all sorts. My internet went down 5 minutes before I was due to go live. But you know what? That's all part of it, isn't it? It's the authenticity, the jeopardy.
Mine went down just as we were trying to get onto a call with the coach yesterday too. So, you know, it's everybody trying to get on in lockdown, isn't it? Or are we still in lockdown? Does it still count as lockdown? I don't know. Taz,
I have no idea either. In fact, I keep talking to people and hearing people saying the same thing. It's like... You know, you must find this yourself. You're going, right, I'll say to Janine, who you obviously know, my wife, and say, shall we go there? Are we allowed to go? Are we allowed to go? Like, can we go there with a mask? Can we go there? Or we're not allowed in there? Or we can go in there, but we have to hop and jump and put a cap on? What exactly?
Or you walk in with somewhere where you think you're supposed to wear a mask, and the proprietor goes, oh, take that off, you don't need it. I've now got about 3 different masks just carried around in my bag all the time, just in case.
Yeah. That's absolutely it. And the classic where you've got it in the car, and then you get out the car to go into the shop, and then go, oh, sodding hell, I've got to go back. And meanwhile, it's chucking down with rain, and then you have to go back into this car, get wet through, and then go back in the shop. And then you get into the shop, and nobody else is wearing one.
Absolutely. And social distancing in supermarkets. Right.
I know it is. Here's
the funny thing: going to the supermarket, you're supposed to, wear a mask, keep everything protected, and then you go into the bakery section, and nothing's covered. So, give me a COVID loaf. Yeah.
Oh God! You know what? We're never going to win any awards for this show, mate. We're far too jovial.
Far too real, mate.
Far too real. Right. Okay. So, people talk quite a bit at the moment about, are you having or have you had a good COVID or a bad COVID, which sounds an awful thing to say, but I know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
What's your feeling on it? Would you say you've had a good COVID or a bad COVID? And more to the point, actually, you're still here, even though Storm Francis, I think, was hitting your area. Anyway, that's a complete digression. Answer the question.
Yes, boss. Have I had a good COVID? Yes. Because why wouldn't I have a good COVID? I think it's one of those situations where I remember we were doing a pink head episode right at the beginning of this before they announced lockdown, and us both going, oh, we'll just be like the flu. It's just a bunch of stuff and nonsense. It's so don't listen to us in the ether somewhere, people. But yeah, I have, because right at the beginning, I got a big piece of paper out and got my Sharpies out and went, right, what do people need? Where are people? How can I help people? What's waking people up at 3:00 in the morning, and what can I provide accordingly? So yes, I've had a good COVID. Has it affected me? Has it impacted my business? Yeah, of course it has. A lot of my live events have had to be postponed or put off until the 12th of never. I've ended up taking on, in the early days, I took on a lot of clients on a kind of make me an offer basis because they just didn't have the wherewithal to pay full price. So I ended up taking on I was counting up. And just during lockdown, I took on an additional 22 face-to-face clients, not via Zoom, obviously, not counting online stuff. Because I think in the early days, I had a bit of a panic and just started saying yes to everything. And then went, am I going to get all these in the diary? What am I going to do? So
yeah,
I've been okay. Kept my head above water. There was a little bit of help from the government, not massively, but it was nice to have that little shot in the arm, although we're all going to be paying for it once we start getting into the next couple of years' tax, which people don't seem to be thinking about right now. Oh, the government being wonderful. Yeah, you wait till they want it back. You wait, baby.
It is. Somebody else has said that to me on one of these shows actually a couple of days ago. In a sense, it's a loan, isn't it? Because you're going to pay it back in tax.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
You know,
But here's a
on
question.
the other hand, it's free money because we're all going to be paying for it anyway. So if you have genuinely been impacted in some way, then you might as well go for it because you'll pay it back.
Yeah. But here's an interesting point. If you have been furloughed and you've been getting anything up to 2.5 grand plus every month.
Yep.
Not everybody's got the 2.5 grand a month.
Nope.
And again, I think small businesses probably suffered most again.
Yeah.
But that's another debate we could have. But having said that, what interests me is when it comes to the tax payback, will the employed take more of the burden of the tax payback or not? And I know, I think I know the answer to that.
Don't be ridiculous. I don't think they will. But I'll tell you what, there was a bit of a shocker for me this week. Because again, you and I think are quite similar in that we'll just be innovative. We'll think our businesses could crash now, or we could take action. Because we're in the kind of coaching, training, presenting field, we can be quite responsive. We can come up with new programs. We can come up with new packages. We can go, what's needed and make it. So you and I are really in a privileged position compared to a lot of people in business. And it's very easy. Yeah. I've been a bit guilty of this in the past. It's very easy to go, well, if you haven't been able to flex and move with the times, tough, you know, with the likes of Toys R Us, well, you weren't competitive. But now when it's individuals who might not have the wherewithal, the knowledge, the expertise, the confidence to flex, we're in a different situation. And last week on one of those few ventures out, we actually went to for an appointment with a face-to-face local business person. And honestly, I thought, what a mess he's in. You know, put it this way, on our second appointment, I ended up shoving a bunch of cash into his hand on the way out and saying, don't argue, take that, because I know you're worth more than that anyway. He's got, without naming names, he's in all kinds of trouble. He's stuck in that thing where he rents a place from somebody else. The land person has collected on the 10k loan, which should have covered the rent, but he's now coming to try and get the rent. Yeah. It's all kinds of. So who's going to help those people? Where's the justice in that? There's something like 1 million that have fallen down the cracks. Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, though, just as a slight aside, not wishing to make light of it, you've never put any money in my hand when I've been walking out the door. Well, you know, you've never done anything to deserve it, Phil, quite frankly, while you've been here.
That's fair. You know. That's fair enough. I have
bought you lots of lattes, though.
Yeah, you have. Do you know, I'm not making light of it. It sounds like I'm making light of it, and I'm not. But, you know, you and I have a bit of a sense of humour. Let's be honest. If you haven't got a flaming sense of humour right now, you're in real trouble. But it's hard to have a sense of humor, of course, when you're looking at mortgages have to be paid, and of course, I think the big deal is going to be end of October, isn't it, when the furlough goes? And I don't know about you, but I like to think of myself as having a reasonable amount of expertise in life in general and perhaps business and work. Yeah. But I think it's fair to say that, unless you think differently, that nobody really has any idea the impact of all this, even in the next 3 or 4 months. Because I'm thinking, apart from the financial things that are going on, the fact that winter's kicking in, winter's coming, and that show and all that. But winter's coming, which you must be a fan of. There's
you should be able to do that much better with your accent, though, Phil. Really, you should be.
Yeah, winter's coming, and by the way, Jon Snow. Do you remember that girl?
Nothing, Phil Crow.
Jon Snow. Anyway, moving on fast.
Anyway,
quick.
Yes, please do.
I'm not going to make a living out of acting, that's for sure, or voiceover.
No, you're not going to be the next Sean Bean just yet. Thank God for that.
I'm not going to be next Bean. There's no doubt about it. So no, I don't think anybody knows, do they? And I've been asking people on these shows about what they think is going to happen and what the impact is, and I don't think anybody's got any idea. Really, have they?
No, nobody knows. So for me, and this is where I've had a little bit of fire on kind of LinkedIn and on social for this. My whole point of view around this is we've got to try and find the gratitude. We've got to try and find the optimism. We've got to try and find the positivity, because from those things grow confidence. If we are not working actively on our confidence, our optimism, and our mindset right now, we won't have the energy to see this through. We won't have the free thinking ability to see this through. We won't be able to innovate. We won't be able to go for things. We won't have the soft skills and tools that we need to survive this storm, for want of a better word. And of course, you say that, and people will say, "Well, you try saying that when you don't know what's going to pay for your kids' Christmas presents." No, but let's just look at that the other way. Your kids are all still alive, and you're still alive, and you're not stuck in a COVID ward somewhere, you know. And
well, my controversial perspective on it, and you may have heard me say this before, and I know that people do think it's a bit controversial, and I get some heat for this as well, is that I think that and I've said it to you before, probably on this show actually, that I just think we have ended up in a situation where people are entitled.
Yeah.
You know, we've had it good for so long, and all of a sudden something has happened, and there was always something going to happen. Pandemics, the thing could have been a meteorite strike, let's be honest, or something else. There was always something going to happen because throughout history, there's always something that happens.
There is, and this is where, at the risk of sounding like I've got a chip, I don't mean it that way at all, but this is where I'm really glad that I haven't grown up with a reserve of cash just sitting in the background, because I've learned that in order to go and make my own business and to make my own way, I've got to adapt. I've got to be thinking all the time. I've got to be thinking on my feet, being creative and implementing. That's the big thing people miss. They have all these ideas, but then they don't implement. So I think because I've never had things handed to me as such, I've got that drive that other people perhaps don't. And I know it's the same for you. And I think where a lot of people in business have had it ridiculously tough, and there's not much you can do about it. So if you think the leisure sector, the hospitality sector, and a lot of people like face-to-face therapists, stuff like that, it's difficult. How do you create something when your work depends on you being within that zone with people? But for the rest of us, the amount of people I've heard saying, "Well, I can't do it." And then you look at their skill set and look at your business and their business. And I've been able to say, well, you could do this or this or this or this or this or this or this. And they get stuck in this tunnel vision. And they're not actually thinking outside of the box enough to do it. Now, is that because they don't have drive? Is it because they're just stuck? Because I know in those times where I felt down on my luck, where I've been in a sinkhole of depression, if it gets to the point where I think, look at me, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills if I don't do something, I'll get out of that hole. I will find a way to get out of it. Yeah. And again, I know that not everybody can, according to what kind of professional industry they are in. But a lot of people who would have been able to create income through this haven't. And I don't know if it's because they're not being creative enough, or because actually they know they'll get picked up and they haven't got the drive. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very fair comment. We did actually say, or I did on your behalf, ask us anything, didn't I? In the
and then I put it out too. I dread to think what media.
So if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, then please do so. Just underneath here, you'll see the comments section, obviously, of the social media. So if you want to make a comment or ask a question, then please do, and I will ask them of myself or Taz or both of us based on what happens there. So one of the things I mentioned to you at the start of this that I thought was worth a chat is something that you and I have lived and breathed, which is, I suppose, why I think it's worth a conversation, and that's collaboration.
Yeah.
You and I have obviously collaborated on a number of things over the years. Probably the biggest and most fun was the digital magazine Tweeting Times.
Yeah.
Which we did in 2008-9, I think, didn't we? And if you remember, do you remember I rang you up in total shock when one of our guests was talking about it on The Right Stuff?
And our magazine cover. That was Sarah Fayward,
and Tweeting Times popped up. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. And as you know, and I've been honest with you about this, that it's one of the few things in life I regret that I didn't drive and keep stuck with, because I know you stuck with it for a while after me. But as you know, I got sidetracked. I got an opportunity to go I got an opportunity to go and work in Ireland on a contract, and money was getting tight, and young family, you know.
So needed some leprechauns, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I fitted very well, actually, as some people watching this will know.
Went off to find your pot of gold, bless you.
Yeah, didn't bloody find it, I tell you.
You did get to kiss the Blarney Stone, though, so you're all right.
Yeah. I mean, what's he? Bloody Warwick Davis becomes a multimillionaire.
Yeah, but you were in a few Star Trek episodes. Yeah.
I was, yes. And as I said to you earlier on, I've got this reason I use these is because it keeps the ears in.
Yeah, Ferengi alert.
So don't do a Dumbo out the window and just bear on the fact we've got quite a bit of a few gales up here at the moment. So collaboration, yeah. So we've collaborated and we've done some really interesting things, and probably could have done even more interesting things.
Oh, we probably still will. Who knows?
And actually, probably will. Yes, exactly. Probably still will. I've got a few ideas, as always, floating around, which I'm toying around with.
God help me.
Yeah. Watch it. WhatsApp. You're going to get hammered on WhatsApp.
Nice. My favourite way to get hammered.
Oh God! Can I just type in this X certificate for this show?
Still getting you back for your best man speech, mate. This is going to go on for years.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a question here from somebody who I think you know quite well.
Oh, I do. Yeah, she's quite hot.
Asher Thornton, Clearwater. Any relative by any chance?
Never heard of her.
No, never heard of her. No, I haven't either. Well, it's a bit like the 3 Denals of Peter, isn't it? You know, do you know Asher? No, never heard of her. And then the cock crows after 3. You know, it's one of those. I'm only kidding, obviously, Asher. So what was your favourite celebrity interview for Tweeting Times? Because obviously Asher was heavily involved too. Yeah. What was your favourite interview for Tweeting Times then? Because we did a few video interviews, didn't we?
We did. I've got a few. There are a couple that stand out. One was when you and I went off to interview Esther Ranson. And that's my favourite because she took the time to sit and teach me the best process for interviewing somebody to camera. She was positioning the camera for me, Now, when I heard the BBC, that was a bit more Janet Street, wasn't it? Anyway, she was so lovely, and still, I was like, that transforms the way I interviewed people to camera because she sat and before the interview, set it all up and said, do this, do that, do the other. So that was great. And the other one that sticks, there were so many. I mean, Boy George was loads of fun as well. But the one that stands out the most, I think, has got to be Stephen Fry, just because it took such a long time to sort it out. Of course, we got there in the end through Mrs. Stephen Fry, who started out with the Twitter account and then got her own book. And I still remember picking up her book in W.H. Smith's and finding out I'd got an acknowledgement in the back, which she'd never said anything about. But we met Stephen in his words, in the bowels of a bookshop. And A, it was amazing because it's Stephen Fry. B, it was amazing because he gave us a testimonial for a business off the back of it. And C, it was a massive learning curve because it was in the days of flip cams. And we knew he was really short on time. And he got a black cab waiting outside, not his, another one. And I got 2/3 of the way through the interview and then realised it had run out of space. So I had to sit in front of Stephen Fry. I'm really sorry, Stephen. I know you're on a schedule, but we stopped filming about 10 minutes ago. So, and he was like, well, one of the things I always do with my flip cam is make sure that I take it home and upload it and clear it at the end. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Hashtag dickhead.
Absolutely. Absolutely love it.
He was so gracious, though. So lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Asher's was David Seaman interview.
Yeah, she's always had a bit of a David Seaman crush. I would have thought, Asher, that you would have said one of your favourites was the one that didn't make it into print. Is it still print? It didn't make it into digital, didn't make it to screen. The Hugh Bonneville interview where you snagged a room at the Ritz in London. Yeah. And again, because we turned up with our little flip cam and a tripod, we're sitting there interviewing Hugh Bonneville and we've got him holding his own boom mic.
and what was amazing is, even though I say it myself, people actually thought that we were something like Pearson Group.
Well, we were runner-up, weren't we, in the National Digital Magazine Awards? And what do you think? We got picked to the post by Sky Magazine.
By Sky Magazine,
Sky with a massive team of millions of pounds, and we're doing it from a back bedroom. What about you, Phil? What was your favourite interview for Tweeting Times?
Oh, crikey. I think probably one I enjoyed because it was comical. I enjoyed the humour of it. was Christine Hamilton.
Oh God.
Because she was basically bickering.
British battle axe.
She was bickering with Neil. Yeah, and it was like you could just hear this bickering going on in the background between them, and it was just really, really comical.
But I tell you what, that stood me. I'm guessing it'll be the same for you because, of course, you had experts online before then, so you'd already started discovering collecting this bank of celebrity interviews because you got Anita Roddick and Richard Branson.
Yeah.
But that's really stood us in good stead. So over lockdown, one of the things I did was launch a Taz Talks series where I was interviewing different TV people and celebs about mental health during lockdown.
Yeah.
And I think if I hadn't had the Tweeting Times experience, I wouldn't have had the idea or the forethought or the ability to just go and seek out celebs and say, will you do this? And persuade them to come on board. So there's this series. I've got another couple to upload yet. So that really was quite formative, I think, for all of us in terms of the direction our businesses took and creativity.
Yeah. And I know you've talked about it before in terms of what other people can get from this. I know I've seen you talk about it before, and I know obviously certainly I have, is that a lot of people say, how did you get all these celebrities? And I answer it the same way every time. I ask nicely.
Yeah.
And that was it. And they assume that you obviously, because of all these people, they assume that you're paying $5,000 a pop. And if you ask nicely, people will help you and support you.
If you ask nicely and you go through the right medium. So it's still Twitter. You know, I remember I was giving a talk to a business group only a few months back. And it was one of these on Zoom because it was a virtual one. And there was a social media guru sitting in the audience who was in the chat stream putting out all this crap about, oh no, Twitter's past it. You want to be on TikTok. You want to be on this. You want to be on that. Twitter's old hat. Well, you ignore it and miss out then, love, because I've just got a shed load of celebs through Twitter that you ain't going to be able to go and get through TikTok, you know.
Yeah. Good luck with TikTok, yeah.
I mean, this a couple of days back, Sandy Tom emailed me and then asked me to WhatsApp her through Twitter, you know.
Yeah.
You look at my contact book, your contact book. You don't do Twitter. Fine, I'll take it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So I've got some other questions actually.
Oh my God, are they all from Asher?
yeah. Somebody from Asher Thornton Clearwater seems to have asked 46 questions.
Thornwater.
I can't speak. Listen, I've got a tickly cough, which freaks people out. By the way.
Can't get COVID through this, can I?
I go, and that's it.
They're behind me.
You see everybody scatter like cockroaches.
I know. I'm wondering. It's hay fever. It's hay fever.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Some comments then. Sean, I think it's Sean, Sian, says Phil should get a pink wig. So it's pink hair.
Maybe I should shave my head. We should do that one time.
Pink hair or pink hair. So it could be, you could shave your head and then it could be pink head. That's could reasonable.
Pink head. Yeah.
Next question was from Noah. And he says, are companies more open to your message now, Taz? I'm guessing he means the positivity or the people emotional stuff, do you think?
I haven't seen them being particularly more open since the pandemic. What I have found is that mental health is much higher on the agenda now. But I mean, I left corporate in 2010, which is how I knew we launched Tweeting Times, bang on midnight as we went into 2010. That's how I remember.
Yeah, that's right.
And I've found they've always been open to that message. I think we hold on to so many crazy old perceptions about what is or isn't acceptable to business and corporate. So, for instance, can you imagine a few years back? I've had it. People say to me, "Well, you're never going to get taken seriously. You're not going to be able to be a corporate speaker. You've got pink hair and you wear t-shirts and bright pink Doc Martens or trainers." Actually,
yeah.
Do you want me to show you some of the invoices? They do. I think it's not necessarily always companies that need to change. It's our perception. It's our perception of this starchy old hat ideal. And I know some are still behind the times. But if you look at some of the bigger ones, so if I'm going to name drop a little bit, if I look at when I did work with Royal Bank of Scotland, for instance, I've worked with them a few times now, and the way I was treated when I went up to their head office, it's amazing. The setup they've got there, And I know they care about their people. The fact that they're bringing me in to talk about change management, to talk about positivity, to talk about what their aspirations might be beyond that organisation. Wow. So, yeah,
And
I
do
think
you think they're more open to that as a result of COVID? Do you think they're more aware and more understanding of the need for, or the opposite?
I haven't necessarily seen a change through COVID. I think that a lot of businesses, and I'm talking particularly the bigger guys now, are going to have to be more aware of what's going to happen, at the concerns that employees have coming back if they've been locked down for a while. They're going to have to take great care if they're having to make redundancies, if they furloughed people, all of that. But I don't think they're necessarily more aware now. I think the awareness they've been building over the past X amount of years is now coming to the fore, so they are able to put it into practice more. I don't think it's a sudden knee-jerk thing, no.
Yeah.
What about you, Phil? Because you work with corporates too. What's your...
Yeah, I do. I would say a mixture, if I'm honest. I would say a mixture. God, don't get me on my soapbox. I think that the issue is more about, and you intimated it a little while ago, it's more about talking about it and not doing it. Yeah. And I know you were talking about probably smaller business implementing change and smaller business implementing different business models.
Bigger businesses are more likely to be on the ball more than some of the smaller ones. And I hate to say it, but there's probably a bit of a geographic divide here as well in terms of opinion. Yeah.
But I think what's interesting at the moment is, and I've seen this before over the years, particularly with things like the 2007 and 2008 and the financial crisis, because that was the thing then. You know, I mentioned earlier, it's pandemic now. The thing in 2007, 2008, which certainly hit my business, was the big meltdown of the banks and such.
Absolutely, yeah. We were here too. We were living off car boot fares for a while when all that was kicking off.
Yeah, some of us have been there before, and it's hard to imagine that somebody who's probably 23 now would have been 13 then, 40. So, of course, they've never known these sorts of hardships.
Well, it's like trying to think of life before one of these, isn't it, as well?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or life before internet and all that. What concerns me is what will happen is what normally happens, and that's the finance people get more control of the business, and the red pen comes out.
Yeah.
And as we know from our experiences in corporate and consultants, is that suddenly it's like, what can we do without? Well, we can manage without training. We can manage without that. We can manage without that.
The things that get cut are the things that they usually need, and it's usually because the people in charge of the number juggling aren't those at the coalface. So it's like marketing budgets are usually the first to be cut, and really the smart money puts more into marketing. And there are ways around it. Yeah. The big thing that gets my goat over that, and I've got such a bee in my bonnet over this one, is I wish corporates would get their head around the potential to allow and encourage their employees to create more of a personal brand and more personal visibility while they are working for them. And of course that have to be parameters. Of course, we don't want people going up and setting up their own businesses and promoting that while you're paying them. But if we just look at the way some of the bigger companies are doing it, if we look at some of the personal brands people are building on LinkedIn, for instance, then they could immediately cut some of their marketing budget if they needed to, because their staff members would start presenting them as an amazing organisation to be part of. And if they're fearful that their staff members wouldn't present them in that light, well, then they need to change the way their organisation operates.
They've got a problem anyway.
Yeah, and the problem is not their staff. Fish rots from the head down.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I knew that would get us going. Next one from Shona. And Shona says that she's starting to suffer from something she's read about, or she thinks she is, called survivor syndrome. Which I'm guessing that she's been one of those that perhaps has not been made redundant, but some of her colleagues and friends have been made redundant, and I'm guessing this. And as a result, she's feeling that guilt that she survived it.
It happens. But you've got to find, Shoni, you've got to find a way to recognise, why have you, if that is the situation, we're guessing it could be that your business has been successful and some of your peers have failed.
Yeah.
But whatever it is,
totally.
you've got to look at why it is that you have survived, why it is that you're still thriving, and find gratitude for that. And it's terrible that not everyone has been able to fare so well. But as we kind of intimated earlier, there's a divide between those who genuinely have not been able to fare well because of circumstances and those who haven't found a way to thrive because they've not been willing to put the effort in, or they haven't had the confidence, or they've not had the drive to do it. There is a divide between, and I know I'm talking in extremes, but there is a difference. So if you have survived, then what can you do to be supporting, encouraging those who haven't? What can you do to help them? What can you do to help them stay buoyant, stay afloat, to give them the enthusiasm, the confidence to go and find new things, whilst recognizing that, of course, you can't just throw positivity at them straight away, because they're going to be going through a grieving process. They're going to be going through shock. They're going to be going through change. But ultimately, you're in a position where you can give them encouragement and be there to hold that space if you need to. And survivor guilt, it ain't your guilt to carry. Put it down. I know it's easier said than done, and I've been very, very flippant, but guilt is one of those emotions that doesn't actually serve us. It's a man-made control emotion that we are conditioned into adopting, and we don't need to.
Yeah. Wise words indeed.
I'll get off my soapbox. You have a crack.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started. It's not always good to get me started.
That's it. You just throw me the tricky ones, Phil.
I'll just throw you the tricky ones. Yeah. Well, I suppose on survivor syndrome, I can understand it. I've seen it before, and I experienced it myself briefly. But you know me, and I'm pretty practical. One of my probably main sayings I have with clients is that spreadsheets don't have feelings.
They don't. Very true.
Which I'm not, and I'm not poo-pooing the need for looking after people and looking after the best people, but I do believe that companies carry dead wood, and I think part of it is because trying to get rid of somebody these days is basically you've got to stab the boss. To be truthful, I personally believe, and it's just my personal view, that if you own a business, you should have the right to decide who you employ and who you don't employ. And I know that's another conversation we could have for another hour and a half. And I just see people really, really get, frankly, shafted by staff sometimes because, and it's the minority.
It's both ways, though, isn't it? I mean, you've also, this could be a whole other show and a massive debate. You've also got to look very, very clearly and cleanly at why people are being let go, if indeed they are. And is it genuinely because there is a redundancy situation, or have we got situations where the powers that be are going, we've wanted to get this person out for a long time, this gives us an excuse to do it, in which case 100% that'll be happening. But in which case, and it's funny, I was having a similar conversation with a client only earlier today, in which case then the managers need to have a really hard think about whether they've employed the wrong person or whether they have failed that person by not listening, by not steering them in the right direction, by maybe pushing them into a job that isn't right for them, that isn't right for their skill set and aptitude, by creating accidental managers without giving them the backup and the skill set and the knowledge to take it through. So there's fault could be on both sides. And if there's somebody that isn't performing, then the management team need to look at why and what are they doing to support them as well. And what have they done to enable or create or sustain that situation for far longer than they should have done.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. The only thing I would say is I think that sometimes in certain jobs and in certain situations, the managers are under so much pressure with workload. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, back in our day, there was probably 3 people doing a job that one person's doing now.
But those managers have managers and managers and managers. So then you have to keep going right up to find out where that is disseminating from. Where's that coming down from? Yeah. But it takes a really switched on and forward thinking boss in order to see that. But the results, the rewards for adopting that attitude are going to be great if they start doing it now. Yeah. Yeah. No, what's that old phrase? True. The best time to plant an oak tree was 20 years ago. The next best time to plant it is today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? It's a good one in terms of people thinking about starting businesses as well. That's another question I get. I've got a question here actually from Chad Marshall Lane. And that's the question from Chad. So how can we market to companies to see the benefits of training and taking care of their staff?
Do you want to take that one first, Phil?
Yeah, I can do. I think the answer is probably to speak to them. I think it's in the whole area of influence. I also think it's in the whole area of content actually as well, which I know I would say that, but it's what they talk a lot about nowadays is show not tell. So if you can show people, if you can, maybe, I don't know, it's at the top end, maybe do some interviews with people, maybe do some interviews with senior people in companies. And remember what we said, do some interviews with senior people in companies, some big companies that people would respect and know who are doing that, and get them to say it, oh, well, yeah, we're in deep doo-doo, profits are going to be down 35%, but we recognize the importance of investing right now, like you just said, not just cutting it. And I think a lot of that is probably connected, Taz, to and Chad, to social proof. And people are going to be a lot more confident in taking an approach if they think or know that 2 or 3 of their peer group people who maybe they look up to or they are respectful of are taking a different stance. Because I think at the very least, it may well stop them in their tracks and make them rethink it or discuss it or debate it with the senior team.
Definitely.
That's my initial response.
It's funny you should say that, because only last week I was advising one of my coaching clients to do just that, to get a foot through the door, to look at the industry she wanted to work with, pick the kind of top 5 companies in that in that particular industry that she wants to target, and to go and ask to do interviews with them on something it's not fair for me to go into details, but something that's pertinent to her area of work. So she strokes the ego a bit, she gets a foot in the door, she's made a face-to-face connection, and through that interview she can start talking about some of the work she does and asking their opinion on it, which gets her through there. Social proof is absolutely massive. I think one of the biggest areas people are falling down on, and I'm going to say this is a lot of SMEs and business owners here, is the likes of Phil and I have been shoving social media importance down their throat and the importance of social proof. Yeah, social media and the online revolution for how many years now? And they're starting to get it. But now what they're left with is, well, if I just post on Facebook and LinkedIn occasionally, the work will drop in. You can't do that. You can't just post on LinkedIn regularly or Facebook or TikTok or whatever your thing happens to be and expect the work to come. You have to get strategic. So one of the ways I've done this very successfully in the past, it's actually how I got the RBS gig, is look at which are the businesses that you want to work with. And this is where so many people fall down, because they'll go, well, anybody that needs training, for instance, anybody with skin. No, pick, say, 3 specific organizations that you want to work with, and then make sure that you are showing social proof before you go and connect with these people and start searching for them. Make sure, let's look at LinkedIn because it's the most obvious business one. Make sure your content on LinkedIn for the last week or so stacks up. So if I was going for a speaking gig, I'd make sure I've got show reels on there, I've got testimonials on there, I'll talk about speaking to different audiences, I'll talk about some of the messages that I would take through, how I can help people. And then you go and search for the decision makers in those organizations that you've selected. And I say 3 because then it's really easy to track them in bulks of 3, 5 max, but 3 is an ideal. Connect with the decision makers in that company, start talking to them, follow their content. When you connect with somebody, one of the first things they're going to do is check out your profile. So if you make sure everything aligns, you will get gigs off the back of that. But you've got to be brave enough. And the other thing is that you've got to be willing to share your story. You've got to be willing to give a little bit of vulnerability. You've got to be willing to do more than this is what I do and this is how much it costs. You've got to give people the human element and that social proof, and you've got to keep at it. You've got to be consistent. You know, we say with LinkedIn, minimum of 3 times a week. I'm on there most days, sometimes more than once a day, not just posting, but engaging with people. The engagement is crucial. And I'm not talking specifically about Chad here. I'm putting this out to everybody in business who isn't. There's a massive issue with people putting the effort in to get the return. And frankly, that's laziness and I can't be bothered syndrome. And again, that's not particular to the guy asking the question here. I see that generally. People can't be bothered to create the engagement. They can't be bothered to put the consistent effort in. They can't be bothered to get up early enough so that they're in that like 7:15 to 8:30 slot where people in business at that level are going to be looking. They can't be bothered to follow up. They can't be bothered to keep showing up. It's too much hard work. It's too much stress. And if that's the case, well, that's fine. But that means your competitors who put the effort in are going to get the jobs that you're losing. Simple.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy! How true is that? Yeah, I mean, I've had similar conversations about it. I've said to few people, they want to do business development, they want to get better at, have more people, have more customers, they want more leads. Pick up the bloody phone.
Or if you don't want to pick up the phone, don't use the chance. I'm not one for picking up the phone simply because it conflicts with my value set, because I hate getting cold calls, so I won't do them. But that means I find the other channels and I use them.
Well, yeah. Metaphorically speaking, pick up the phone, engage,
a tweet or an email. Do something and do it consistently. We have to remember that yes lives in the land of no. We are all conditioned to automatically say no. Think about it. When in the old days, we were walking through a high street, and one of those charity guys with the shiny suit and the lanyard starts walking up to you with a clipboard, you're already repeating no in your head before you've got within 3 feet of him. Before you've got within safe social distancing, you're like, no. Or I'm going to pretend I'm on the phone or across the street. When somebody wants to sell at us, we are predisposed to say no. So you've got to keep going. You've got to go through the no's to get to the yeses, and you've got to create such a magnetic, powerful story with your social content that they cannot afford to ignore you. And then when you connect, they go, that's that guy we've been seeing on social. That's that guy with the story. That's that guy that we need. You've got to be able to
and remember you when they need you.
Yes, you've got to find ways
because they might not need you at the time that you.
And also, it doesn't matter how cracking your content is, people will not remember your name. That's why if you look at my LinkedIn feed, if I use images, they're in my brand colours. If I use video, they've got my brand colours. I've got little emojis that are relevant to me after my name. There's always a capital letter headline. I always use my Unleash Your Awesome hashtag. Why? Because people won't remember my name the first time, but they will remember the colours and the capitals and the stuff that stands out when they're scrolling through the feed. Social media is the original interruption marketing. That's what we're in now. You've got to be able to interrupt with your content.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I need to drink now.
Take a breath. but absolutely true. And I know for a fact that you've lived and breathed what you've just said. Yeah. So from Wendy Harris here, it's already happening, sadly. I think she's probably talking about the getting rid of people, I suspect.
Yeah.
Wendy, if you're still on, if you just want to confirm that's what you mean by it's Wendy. Already happening. But I would imagine that there is an element of that, which is probably about getting rid of people and maybe getting rid of dead wood, because I think that's what we were talking about. But, if that's not the case, Wendy, then just confirm.
Yeah, let us know, Wendy. The other thing I would say there, though, is, and again, this is where I've had a bit of fire recently. Yes, there are job losses at the minute. Yes, there are people being let go of, but we've got to stop being hooked into all the doom and gloom, because that will drag our energy down to the point where, again, our confidence is low. We'll sink into depression. We'll feel there's no point, and we will not be able to get out of this. So, yeah, M&S has made 7,000 redundant. But go and look back over the past few years. How many people have they made redundant every year as a matter of course? We might be in a spike now. Tesco's have just taken on 16,000 on top of the 4,000 they took on during COVID. And, of course, you scratch the surface, you start looking at the hours and the minimum wage and all of that. But behind every negative headline, there is a positive headline being drowned out. Stop absorbing the negativity. Stop being trapped in the drama. Acknowledge that it's happening, and then focus on building your positives, building your confidence, and getting out there and making it happen. Because if you don't, you will fall down the cracks. And those of us who are out there and being determined enough and driven enough and being able to flex and just getting off our backsides are the ones that are going to be left standing. And I know that sounds harsh, and I know it's a massive broad brush approach, but you can't keep getting caught in the drama trap and looking at all the negatives if you want to succeed through this. It will not serve you.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And of course, if anybody doubts your passion, having the boxing match with your microphones probably.
Absolutely.
Oh, shit.
I'm a microphone pugilist. I thought I was being really subtle and moving that back into place then.
It was like watching Mike Tyson, showing my age now.
Yeah, that'll solve your ears problem then, won't it, Phil? Next time we meet up, I'll just bite them off for you.
It will. It absolutely will. Right. One more question I've got here. And to be honest, we're running out of time. So there's a lady here asking, what's her name? Eve.
Hello, Eve.
Hello, Eve. So, yeah, she's saying that she does a lot of speaking at events. Do you think that speaking at events will come back anytime soon?
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking at events hasn't stopped. The format's changed. I've still been speaking at some events through this. There are a couple of other people I know in the speaker industry who are already being pre-booked for next year for virtual events. So, yeah, I absolutely believe that speaking will come back. The format might change. Who knows when we'll get to a point where people are going to feel secure enough to open those big auditoriums again. But if you've got a good enough message and you are still needed and wanted, which, by the way, is up to you and the way you're presenting yourselves, then, yeah, absolutely. I've still got gigs coming in. They're just through a webcam rather than standing on a stage. Yeah. What about you, Phil?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Doing quite a lot of webinars at the moment. All the stuff I've been banging on about for years, as you well know, about video is now all of a sudden a hot topic.
Yep.
It was kind of always a hot topic, but easy to ignore. Funnily enough, I don't know if you saw this, but there was something on the radio yesterday, or heard this, something on the radio yesterday saying that cosmetic surgery demand had gone through the roof. And they reckon it's because so many people are now on Zoom and looking at themselves and going, oh, God, I've got to get my chin fixed.
No, you see, I've been saying I want to get my chin fixed for years, but I love being on Zoom because I can raise it up, I can tilt it forward and hide the double chin, so that's fine. If I could be on Zoom forevermore, I'd save myself about $6,000 when I actually have this done. Sorry, these done.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, obviously it's just fascinating. The other thing I find fascinating as well is how for a good few months before all this kicked off, there was so much discussion and so much debate about saving the planet, and Greta was doing her thing and all the rest of it. And everybody was and I used to say, and you know what I'm like, very practical and a bit cynical at times. It's called old age. It gets to you eventually. And I used to say, well, if you're really that bothered about the planet, stop getting in your car to go a mile up the road, because it's raining. Because I think people are hypocrites, but there you go.
I think they are.
Yeah, they are. But what I found fascinating, just finish the point. What I found fascinating was there was every reason to stop using the car to save the planet, but now because you're not allowed out, you stop using your car.
Here's what I'm finding quite upsetting would be too strong a word, but in that vein somewhere, the amount of people who, when we were in lockdown proper, were talking about the impact on the environment. They were hearing birdsong more in their garden. Everybody was going on about how isn't it wonderful? And at the first opportunity, we've gone, let's get back in the car. So it's just give a shit. I did one of the Taz Talks episodes was with Chris Packham. And, well, you can imagine, I don't know if you saw any clips of it, but he was really passionately drilling down into quite a lot of really interesting stuff about the environment and the pandemic. And it concerns me greatly that we've had such an opportunity, and yet we don't seem to have learned from it. We've all got sick about. Don't keep talking about the new normal. I just want things to be back the way they were. Why? What for? And I tell you another thing that people won't have thought about, and this ties into what we were saying earlier about we're going to have to pay it back. All you people who are self-employed who've been relying on putting in big mileage expenses in order to bring your tax bill down. Good luck.
I know that isn't that true. Steve Smith. You get on great with Steve. I know Steve really well. Steve runs something called Northwest Employee Engagement Group and Anthem Engagement, which does surveys and all engagement stuff. And he's obviously a fan of the session, which is great. And he loves your. He loves you, yeah, and he's enjoying the boxing as well, of course. And I know he's very keen to see events coming back because I'm obviously on his email list for Northwest Employee Engagement Group, and I know he's keen to get people back and engaging and everything else. And I think
Steve, come and find me and hook up.
Yeah, actually, I'll connect you two guys actually, because Taz would be a great podcast interviewee, Steve, which I could do for you, or obviously you can do that with Danny or whatever. But probably worth connecting you up.
The embarrassing thing will be when that social media thing happens that happens all so often when you go to connect us and realise we're already connected and we didn't realise. That'll be the fun thing.
Yeah, that does happen, doesn't it?
Friends on Facebook, and I'm like, who are you? Are we?
That does happen.
And you start asking questions to try and get a clue, and you still haven't got a clue. You know?
Well, Asha says that TEDx Peterborough is happening again next year, so she's obviously sticking with the optimistic.
Absolutely, and that was, there was a lot to go through there, because if anybody hasn't picked up, Asha's my wife, and I know Ash was really concerned about not running it this year because she didn't want to let her speakers down. But of course, the last thing you want is to run something and then find either it gets postponed again, or for something like a TEDx, you need the audience to be there to give A, to cover your costs with the tickets, and B, to provide that audience experience for your speakers. So it's like, run it this year and have one person in every third seat if you're lucky, or just hang fire for it. It's like my speaker training was supposed to be in April, March. Can't remember now. That's now happening in November, and as far as we know, that's all going ahead. But yeah, I think what we've got to be careful of is it's all right saying yes, we can have live events back, but until the audience members, until the public feels safe enough and confident enough to buy tickets, you might as well pause and go online.
I'm sorry, I am listening. I'm just laughing because Ash has just come up with an absolute classic. If I can just see it.
I'm not, but I think my wife is. She said to me, Phil, just before I went on air, I had a quick break between.
Tasha, that's great. Go on.
I had a quick break between my last coaching client and coming on here with you. And Asha called through and said, "Do you mind if I use a picture of you on social media?" And of course not. Why? She said, "Oh, it's just that it's National Dog Day today." And I think she meant a picture of me with one of the dogs. I hope she meant a picture of me with one of the dogs. None taken. That's what 22 years. That's what happens.
Right,
Cheers,
well,
Steve.
Steve's obviously decided that you're worth connecting with.
I'm mad enough.
So that's You'll get on well. He's a good guy.
Okay, Steve. I might have to go and delete somebody if I'm at my maximum, but I will call somebody for you if I need to, Steve.
And actually, wasn't your marriage, of which I was best man at, was it the first gay marriage in Lincolnshire or something?
Yes, the first gay marriage, or as I like to call it, marriage. Yes.
And I was, so that's my claim to fame then, isn't it really?
Yeah, because the local newspapers were like, "Can we do some PR?" And we were like, "No." Yeah. I wasn't sure if I had to sing an ABBA song or something, or well, you did have your Larry shirt
song.
I think you'll find that everybody had to sing an ABBA song at the registry office.
They did. It was great fun. Yeah. It was absolutely great fun. Right. Okay. I think, you know what? I think we better come to a close because we're getting into all sorts of issues here.
It's a bit dangerous.
Very dangerous. Yeah.
We ought to do live streamers after dark.
The X-rated version. Yeah, blimey, that would be X-rated and all with you and me talking about
it. Would.
Right, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to finish just with to show the intro to Pink Hair, Pink Head, because just to show that it is actually true. We do this show called Pink Hair, Pink Head. And I said to you before, didn't I, that I noticed that your hair is different on every show we've done.
It
Mine's
depends where we
exactly
are
the
in the
bloody same.
cycle. See, I'm back to the hairdressers tomorrow. I said to you right at the start, I currently feel like Chewbacca's mated with a candy floss again. But tomorrow, I'll be back to, I was going to say normal, but this is me we're talking about. It's probably not.
Yeah, but I mean, one of the things I would say is you have been, I've known you a few years now, but I've been really, really impressed the way you've kept consistent with your brand development. You have walked the talk, I guess is the point I'm making. Because, we're all consultants, a lot of us are coaches, but you actually do walk the talk. You do keep consistent. Even things which I notice, because, I just noticed these things, but even like that Wednesday email, it comes out. That's down to you working with Asher and others.
Yeah,
but that comes out every Wednesday. And I almost see it and go, oh, it must be Wednesday.
Yeah, thank you.
so
Awesome
that
sauce on a Wednesday.
So I'm really impressed with that. For somebody who's, as you know, I'm all over the flaming place, and
But you were always geeky, so that's
always
right.
geeky.
You're always geeky.
I stay geeky actually. So I'm going to call it a day. That's best bet an hour. Flipping out. That's an hour. I can't believe that.
Jeez! Wow.
Yeah. I can't believe that's gone. Listen, thank you ever so much, everybody. Really appreciate your involvement and all your questions and all your comments. And obviously, because the great thing about live streams is where you do get questions. And if you're watching this on recorded, then please do just ask a question and make a comment, and we will get back to you as appropriate. And I think that'll do us. So, bank holiday weekend coming up. Anything amazing planned, Taz?
Getting ready for the weekend after when I fly to Greece, all being well, where I should have been going in May.
That's weird. When are you flying to Greece?
Week on Saturday.
So that's like the 5th.
Yeah.
And where are you going to?
Halkidiki.
I don't know where that is actually. Is that in Greece?
No, it's in Poland, Phil.
How embarrassing is that when I worked for Thomas Cook for 14 years? Yeah, because guess where we're going on the Sunday after?
Greece.
Crete. So you, and we didn't know this, did we? You must be watching very closely the news, because at any flipping moment, you're waiting for the announcement, like they did with France.
Yeah.
And Steve,
that's what
who's on
happened
here.
to me in May. This was supposed to happen in May. So this is the postponed one.
Oh, blimey. Right. Okay. So, yeah. Well, I'm just going to say, actually, Steve, who's on here, who we were just talking about a minute ago, he was in France, and sure enough, they made the lockdown kicked in when he was coming back. So he was there when it happened. So we've got the same scenario, I guess. We've got the possibility of the lockdown happening before we go, which is kind of disappointing, but not that big a deal. But even worse, we've got the flipping possibility that whilst we're there, we're going to have the lockdown kicks in. And then when we come back, we'll have to self-isolate for 2 weeks.
But worst case, we'll have to work out a way to safely pick up the dogs and cats and then stay indoors for 2 weeks, which is really what we've been doing since March anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm not that worried.
No,
we get to go, I'm going. If I've got a hitchhike, hitchhike to Greece. I'm going.
Yeah, it sounds like you're as ready for the break as I am.
Too right. Yeah, I really am. Yeah.
I'm definitely really ready. I thought I was going to get a rest with everything that was going on, but obviously because of the the relevancy, is that a word? I don't know. You're the journalist. The relevancy of digital and all the rest of it. Obviously, I've been busier than I thought, which is good. I'm not complaining at that.
I said to you earlier, I've taken on way too many, so it's been fun trying to get a month's worth into 2 weeks. Yeah,
comes a point where you just need the break.
I don't know about you, but there's a weird thing with me, because Asher and I've said, well, we could go abroad. We could go abroad somewhere in this country. We could go somewhere in this country if we needed to. It's like, well, why would I want to go somewhere where it's arguably worse? But also, I don't know about you, but there's something about this. If I'm on holiday in this country, I don't feel I can switch off properly. If I go abroad, something in here switches, and I go, no, I'm in another country, can't get back. I don't need to do it. Yeah. It's weird.
No, I think that's true. Plus, yesterday I looked out the window and thought, as I saw the next door's tent that they were putting up, ready to.
She saw the cow
practicing putting up the tent next door, ready for their holiday next week, and as it flew across our back garden, and I thought, you know what? abroad.
We
Right.
had our fences done just before lockdown. Thank God, because we'd had them tied up to the fence for about 2 years before that.
Yeah,
Anyway.
definitely a reminder of what the weather can do to you when you're staycationing.
It does.
Taz,
It does.
I'm going.
Yes, me too, mate. I'll
Lovely
see
to
you
have you
soon.
on.
You too.
Great to have you on. Fantastic stuff. You know, I hope everybody's enjoyed that. Some bit of a laugh as well, which is always good. And I suppose the message really is stay positive, be resilient, and, you know, think about collaborations and think about maybe you could do your own live stream show. Maybe you could do a similar thing to what myself and Taz are doing. Maybe you could invite guests on. And just do something a little bit different and create a bit of experience in the modern digital world of digital media.
Go
And
for
on
it.
that note,
Don't do what I've just done and thought that you were already offline and carry on talking about your holiday and fences.
yeah, I thought no, you're not getting away with it that easy. But we are going to go offline now. So wait, do the wave. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye-bye.